The Deep Space Monitoring Station on Luna Base hummed with its usual quiet efficiency until every screen suddenly lit up with warning signals. Captain James Miller had been drinking his third cup of coffee when the alerts started flooding in. At first, he thought it was another drill, but the data streaming across his screens told a different story. "Sir, we're picking up multiple objects entering the outer solar system," reported Mark, one of the younger technicians. His hands flew across the holographic display, bringing up detailed sensor readings. "They're coming in fast, way faster than any natural objects." Miller leaned forward, his coffee forgotten. The objects were moving in formation, definitely not asteroids or space debris. As he watched, more detailed scans revealed their true nature. Ships. Hundreds of them, maybe more. "Get me a direct line to Earth Defense Command," Miller ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. What surprised him most wasn't the appearance of the alien fleet. Humanity had always known they weren't alone in the universe. No, what caught him off guard was the lack of panic in his own voice. Within minutes, General Laura Hayes appeared on the main screen. Miller expected to see shock or alarm on her face. Instead, she looked almost resigned. "How many ships, Captain?" "We're counting 547 distinct vessels, General. Various sizes, but they're definitely warships based on their energy signatures." Miller paused, studying the general's expression. "Ma'am, you don't seem surprised." Hayes closed her eyes for a moment. "We've been expecting them, Miller. For the past 20 years, we've been expecting them." She typed something on her end, and new information flooded Miller's screens. Classified files he'd never seen before. "I'm giving you clearance level Alpha. Read quickly." As Miller scanned through the documents, his eyes widened. Earth's first deep space exploration probes, launched decades ago, had done something. Something terrible. The files were filled with complex scientific data, but the basic truth was clear enough. Humanity's early attempts at faster-than-light travel had caused unintended effects in several developing star systems. "General," Miller said slowly, "these reports suggest we accidentally altered the stellar evolution of 3 different stars. But that's impossible with the technology we had back then." "Impossible? No. Improbable? Yes. But we did it, Captain. Our first crude attempts at bending space had consequences we couldn't have predicted. We've spent the last 2 decades trying to fix it." Through the station's windows, Miller could see Earth hanging in space, peaceful and blue. The defense platforms, scattered throughout near-Earth orbit, looked almost delicate from this distance, but he knew better. Those platforms represented the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. Yet somehow, he sensed, they weren't built primarily for destruction. "Send word to all stations," Hayes ordered. "Initiate protocol redemption." And Miller, "Remember, these aren't our enemies. They're the victims of our mistake." As Miller relayed the orders, he noticed something odd about Earth's defensive preparations. The weapon systems being activated weren't the planet-killer missiles or the gravity disruptors. Instead, teams of scientists were being mobilized, and massive data transfers were beginning between research stations. "Mark," Miller called to the technician, "bring up the alien fleet's approach vector on the main screen." The holographic display showed the ship's trajectory, and Miller noticed something else strange. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the alien vessels weren't moving like an invasion force. Their formation was too spread out, almost as if, "They're giving us time," Miller muttered. "They're making sure we see them coming." The realization hit him. This wasn't just an invasion force. This was justice, or at least what the aliens thought was justice. They were coming to hold humanity accountable for its actions. As the alien fleet crossed the orbit of Neptune, Miller received another transmission, this time from a research facility in Antarctica. Dr. Anna Thompson's face appeared on his screen, her expression determined. "Captain, please confirm that the archive is ready for transfer to your station. 20 years of work, everything we need to make this right." Miller looked at the approaching fleet, then back at Earth's strangely calm preparations. They weren't preparing for a war, he realized. They were preparing for something else entirely. Humanity's greatest mistake was about to meet humanity's greatest effort at redemption. He just hoped the aliens would give them a chance to explain before they started shooting. The alien transmission came exactly 3 hours after their fleet crossed Jupiter's orbit. Every screen on Earth lit up with the same message, broadcasted in perfect English. Admiral Rex of the Galactic Concordat appeared as a tall, gray-skinned being with deep-set eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. People of Earth, the alien commander's voice was surprisingly gentle, almost sad. Your crimes against the younger races cannot go unanswered. We have watched and waited, gathering evidence of your actions. 3 star systems, 3 developing civilizations, forever altered by your reckless experiments. Miller watched from Luna Base as the message played across every channel. Behind him, Dr. Thompson was busy uploading data to the archive, her fingers moving frantically across multiple screens. She hadn't slept in 2 days. The ones you harmed cannot speak for themselves. Admiral Rex continued. So we speak for them. Surrender your weapons and prepare to face judgment, or we will have no choice but to prevent you from causing further harm to the galaxy. When the transmission ended, Miller expected panic in the streets, chaos in the government. Instead, he watched through various feeds as people gathered calmly in their homes and public spaces. 20 years of preparation had changed humanity in ways even they didn't fully understand. They think we did it on purpose, Dr. Thompson said quietly, not looking up from her work. All these years, they've been watching us, thinking we were monsters who deliberately destroyed those stars. She finally turned to face Miller, her eyes red from lack of sleep. We have to show them the archive. The emergency meeting of Earth's leadership took place virtually, with representatives from every nation joining through secure channels. Miller watched from his station as they discussed not battle plans, but communication strategies. The guilt that had driven humanity's scientific advancement for 2 decades was visible on every face. We can't just surrender, one official argued. They need to understand we've been trying to fix this. And how do we prove that? Another shot back. Our shame kept us from reaching out to them for 20 years. Why would they believe us now? Dr. Thompson stepped into the frame. Because we have proof. The archive isn't just research, it's everything. Every failed experiment, every breakthrough, every sleepless night spent trying to find a solution. We documented it all, knowing this day would come. Outside the lunar base, Miller could see Earth's defense systems activating, but not in the way anyone would expect from a planet preparing for war. Instead of charging weapons, they were positioning themselves to create a protective shield, not to keep the aliens out, but to ensure they could get close enough to receive the full data transmission of the archive. A second alien transmission cut through all channels. This time, Admiral Rex's voice carried an edge of confusion. Your defense patterns are unexpected. Our sensors detect no charging of weapon systems, no aggressive positioning. Explain. Miller watched as General Hayes stepped forward to respond. She looked directly into the camera, her face showing not fear, but deep regret. Admiral Rex, we have been preparing for this moment for 20 years, not to fight you, but to show you something. Something that will explain everything. As if on cue, Dr. Thompson's team began broadcasting a small portion of the archive, just enough to show their intentions. Data streamed from Earth's stations, research notes, failed experiments, successful breakthroughs, all focused on one goal, fixing what they had accidentally broken. The alien fleet slowed its approach. On screens across Earth, Admiral Rex's expression shifted from righteous anger to something more complex. This is not what we expected to find, he admitted. You've been trying to repair the damage. For 20 years, General Hayes replied. We found a way, but we needed your help to implement it. We didn't know how to tell you. How do you tell someone you've hurt them by accident and have been too ashamed to admit it. The silence that followed lasted nearly 5 minutes. When Admiral Rex spoke again, his voice had lost its edge of certainty. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we should talk." The meeting room aboard Luna Base fell silent as Dr. Thompson pulled up the classified files from 20 years ago. The holographic display showed 3 star systems, each one pulsing with an angry red light. Admiral Rex and 2 of his science officers sat across from the human delegation, their expressions unreadable. "It started with Project Starleap," Dr. Thompson began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Our first attempts at faster-than-light travel. We were so proud, so excited to reach for the stars." She pulled up an image of the first experimental ship, a crude thing compared to today's vessels. Miller watched as the alien officers leaned forward, their eyes fixed on the data streaming across the screens. The truth was finally coming out, not in fragments, but in its full, terrible detail. "We didn't understand then," Thompson continued, "that our method of bending space had side effects. The ripples spread further than we thought possible. The display showed the wave of distortion moving through space, reaching those distant stars. By the time we realized what was happening, the damage was done." Admiral Rex's chief scientist, a tall being with silvery skin, spoke up. "The stellar cores, you accelerated their aging process. It wasn't a question. But how did you not detect this immediately?" General Hayes stepped forward, her face grim. "The effects weren't instant. It took 2 years before our deep space monitors detected the changes. By then, the process had already begun in all 3 systems. The room's screens filled with images of the affected stars, their natural life cycles artificially accelerated. What should have taken billions of years was now happening in mere centuries. The developing civilizations in those systems would have their homes destroyed long before they could develop the technology to escape. "We shut down Project Starleap immediately," Thompson said, pulling up more files. "Every scientist, every engineer, every resource we had was redirected to finding a solution. We knew we had to fix it, no matter the cost." Miller noticed something change in Admiral Rex's expression as he watched decades of human research flash across the screens. Failed experiments, successful breakthroughs, countless hours of work, all focused on one goal. "This is why your technology advanced so rapidly," Rex said slowly. "We thought you were preparing for war, building weapons. But you were. We were trying to save them," Thompson finished. "The archive contains everything we learned, including the solution we finally discovered 2 months ago." The holographic display changed again, showing a complex series of calculations and diagrams. "We found a way to stabilize the stellar cores, to reverse the damage we caused, but we couldn't reach those systems with our current technology. We needed help." One of Rex's officers stood up suddenly. "The defense platforms we detected, they're not weapons at all, are they?" Miller shook his head. "They're broadcasting stations, designed to transmit the archive's data across interstellar distances. We've been trying to send the solution to affected systems for years, but our signals weren't strong enough." "And your ships?" Rex asked. "The ones we thought were warships." Hayes pulled up new images showing Earth's space fleet, research vessels, mostly, built to test our theories in controlled conditions. We didn't dare experiment near the affected systems again. Not until we were absolutely sure. The room fell quiet as the aliens processed this information. 20 years of human history was being rewritten before their eyes. What they had seen as military buildup had been desperate research. What they thought was aggressive expansion was carefully controlled testing. "All this time," Rex said quietly, "we thought we were protecting the younger races from monsters. Instead, we find..." He trailed off, looking at the endless stream of research data. "You find a species haunted by its mistake," Thompson finished. "Everything we've done, everything we've built, has been to fix what we accidentally broke." She touched a control, and the room filled with images of the affected civilizations, still unaware of their stars' accelerated aging. "We couldn't face them," couldn't admit what we'd done until we had a way to make it right. Admiral Rex stood, his tall frame casting a shadow across the data displays. "Show me," he said simply. "Show me everything." The space around Earth erupted in chaos when a group of younger alien ships broke formation and charged forward. Tom Wilson sat in his fighter's cockpit, watching the incoming vessels with steady eyes. 20 years as a test pilot for the research fleet had taught him patience. "All wings, hold position," he ordered his squadron. "Remember your training. Disable only. No destruction." The words felt strange in a combat situation, but they had practiced this countless times. The alien ships fired their first volley. Energy beams cut through space, aimed at Earth's defense platforms. But instead of exploding, the platforms absorbed the energy, their shields glowing softly. 20 years of studying stellar mechanics had taught humanity a lot about handling energy. "They're young." Admiral Rex's voice came through the command channel. "They don't understand what we've learned. I can't hold them back." There was genuine regret in his voice. Some of his fleet had refused to believe the truth about humanity's intentions. Wilson engaged his engines, leading his squadron in a defensive pattern they had practiced thousands of times. Their ships moved with precise coordination, not attacking, but creating a complex web of energy fields between Earth and the attacking vessels. "Blue Squadron, deploy the containment nets," Wilson ordered. The technology they had developed to stabilize stellar cores had other uses. Energy nets sprang out between their ships, designed to capture and redirect power rather than destroy. An alien vessel fired directly at Wilson's fighter. Instead of evading, he adjusted his shields to catch the blast, channeling it through his ship's systems and releasing it as harmless light. The alien pilot's confusion was clear in their erratic response. "They're not expecting this." Miller's voice came from Luna Base. "Their sensors show our ships have enough power to destroy them, but we're not firing back. It's making them hesitate." More alien ships broke through, but Earth's defenders maintained their discipline. No fatal shots were fired, no ships destroyed. Instead, humanity's vessels demonstrated everything they had learned about energy control and containment. Dr. Thompson's voice cut through the combat chatter. "The archive transfer is at 60%. We need 10 more minutes. Keep them contained without harm." Wilson watched as one of the alien ships got caught in a containment net. Its engines flared wildly, but instead of being destroyed, it was gently brought to a stop. The pilot's angry transmissions filled the comm channels. "Look at their engine signature," Wilson told his squadron. "See how it pulses, just like a destabilized star core. The same principles apply. Control, don't destroy." More alien ships were caught in the defensive web. Some still fired, their weapons becoming increasingly desperate. But humanity's shields held, absorbing and redirecting, never retaliating. This wasn't a battle, it was a demonstration. "Archive transfer at 80%, Thompson updated. Their scientists are already reviewing the data. They're beginning to understand." Through his cockpit window, Wilson saw one of the captured alien ships stop struggling. Its pilot had realized that despite being completely immobilized, their ship was undamaged. More vessels began to power down as the truth spread through their fleet. "All wings, prepare for Phase 2, Miller ordered. "Show them what these containment fields were really designed for." Wilson led his squadron in a new formation. The energy nets between their ships began to pulse with a familiar pattern, the same one they had developed to stabilize dying stars. The alien ships caught in the field fell silent as their instruments recorded the data. "This is why we trained so hard," Wilson told his pilots. "Not to fight, but to save. Every defensive pattern, every maneuver, was designed to protect life." Admiral Rex's voice returned, stronger now. "To all ships, stand down. What we are witnessing, this is not the technology of destroyers. This is something else entirely." The battle, if it could be called that, was ending. Not with destruction, but with understanding. Through his viewport, Wilson watched as the captured alien ships were gently released, their pilots now witnesses to humanity's true purpose. Archive transfer complete, Thompson announced. They have everything now. Every mistake, every solution, every hope we've carried for 20 years. In the sudden quiet of space, humanity's greatest weapons had proven to be not their ability to destroy, but their dedication to preserve life at all costs. Dr. Thompson's hands shook as she prepared to present the archive's full contents to the gathered alien scientists. The main conference room aboard the alien flagship was larger than she had expected, filled with beings from across the galactic concordat. Every eye was fixed on her, waiting. For 20 years, she began, we've carried the weight of our mistake, but we've also carried hope. She activated the main display, and the room filled with holographic data. The archive isn't just research, it's our journey from ignorance to understanding. The first images showed Earth's early space exploration attempts, crude ships, dangerous experiments, and finally, the fatal error that had changed everything. The alien scientists leaned forward as they saw their own data about the affected stars matched perfectly with Earth's observations. We detected the stellar destabilization 2 years after our experiments, Thompson continued. It took us another 3 years to fully understand what we had done. She brought up new images, showing the accelerated aging of the 3 stars. That's when everything changed. Admiral Rex stood at the back of the room, watching as his best scientists examined the data. You shut down all exploration, he noted. We thought you had turned inward out of hostility. Thompson nodded. We couldn't risk causing more damage. Every resource we had went into finding a solution. The displays shifted to show research facilities across Earth, millions of people working together. We knew we had centuries before the stars would die, but we also knew that wasn't enough time for those civilizations to develop space travel on their own. The next set of data made several alien scientists gasp. Years of failed experiments, successful breakthroughs, and incredible technological advances scrolled past. What looked like weapons to the outside world were actually tools for understanding and controlling stellar energy. 2 months ago, we finally did it. Thompson's voice grew stronger. We found a way to stabilize the stellar cores and reverse the damage. She pulled up the final equations, the solution they had worked so hard to find. But we needed help to implement it. The room erupted in discussion as the alien scientists examined the solution. Their instruments confirmed what the humans had discovered. It would work. The process would take time and incredible coordination, but it would save the dying stars. Your containment fields, one alien scientist said, understanding dawning in their eyes. The ones your ships used in the battle. They were practiced for this. Every defense we built, every technology we developed, had dual purposes, Thompson explained. We needed to perfect our control over stellar energy. The only way to do that safely was to start small, with ships and stations. She brought up new diagrams, showing how the same technology that had caught alien ships without harming them could be used on a stellar scale. The principles were identical: control and stabilize, never destroy. We needed your help for 2 reasons, Thompson continued. First, we needed your faster ships to reach the affected systems in time. But more importantly, we needed your trust. We couldn't just show up in those systems and start working on their stars. Not after what we'd done. Admiral Rex stepped forward. You needed us to verify your intentions. To prove to the galaxy that you were trying to help. Yes. Thompson's voice cracked slightly. How do you apologize to civilizations that don't even know you've hurt them yet? How do you prove you've spent 20 years trying to save them? The room fell silent as the final pieces of the archive played out. Decades of human dedication, sacrifice, and hope filled the displays. It wasn't just scientific data. It was the story of a species working tirelessly to right a wrong they had accidentally committed. We can begin implementing the solution within a month, one of the alien scientists announced, looking up from the data. With our ships and your technology combined, we can reach all 3 systems in time. Thompson felt tears in her eyes. 20 years, she whispered. 20 years of carrying this weight. And now, Admiral Rex placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture that transcended their different species. Now you don't carry it alone, he said. Now we help you fix it. Miller stood on the bridge of the alien flagship, feeling strangely calm despite the massive ship's unfamiliar design. Admiral Rex had personally invited him aboard to help coordinate the first rescue mission. Around them, human and alien crew members worked together, checking systems and preparing for the jump to faster-than-light speed. The first target is the closest affected system, Rex explained, pointing to a glowing dot on the main display. Your containment technology has been successfully installed on 30 of our fastest ships. He paused, looking at Miller. Are you certain you want to leave this mission yourself? I have to, Miller replied, checking the data on his tablet. We caused this problem. We need to be there when we fix it. He watched as Dr. Thompson's team worked with alien scientists, making final adjustments to the stellar stabilization equipment. The ship's engines hummed to life, a sound different from anything Earth's vessels could produce. This was why they needed alien help. Their ships could cover in days what would take human vessels months to reach. Jump in 5 minutes, announced the alien navigator. The crew, both human and alien, moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained together for weeks, learning to combine their different technologies and methods. Miller thought back to that first day when the alien fleet had appeared above Earth. How quickly things had changed once the truth came out. Now, looking at the mixed crew working together, he could hardly believe they had once been on the brink of war. Energy stabilizers at full power, reported Tom Wilson, who had been chosen to lead the fighter squadron escort. The same ships that had once faced each other in battle would now work together to save 3 civilizations. The ship jumped. The sensation was strange to the humans aboard, different from their own FTL technology. 3 days of travel passed intense anticipation. Finally, they arrived at the first affected star system. Reading significant stellar instability, one of the alien scientists announced. The core deterioration matches your predictions exactly. On the main screen, they could see the dying star, its surface roiling with unnatural energy patterns. Miller stepped forward. This was the moment 20 years of work had led to. Begin broadcast of the archive data, he ordered. Let them know we're here to help. The ship's communications array activated, sending out a carefully crafted message in multiple formats. They waited, watching as the signal reached the inhabited planets in the system. Response incoming, called the communications officer. They're asking who we are. Miller took a deep breath. This was the hardest part, facing those they had almost destroyed. Tell them the truth. All of it. The next hours were tense as they explained everything to the system's inhabitants. Their mistake, their years of work to find a solution, and their plan to save the star. To everyone's surprise, the response was not anger, but curiosity and cautious hope. They want to help, Rex said, reading the latest transmission. They're offering to coordinate from the surface, to help us position the stabilization fields correctly. The operation began. Human containment technology, powered by alien ships, created a massive energy web around the dying star. The principles were the same as those used in the space battle near Earth, just on an enormously larger scale. Core temperature beginning to stabilize, Thompson reported, her eyes fixed on the readings. The deterioration is slowing. Around her, human and alien scientists worked in perfect synchronization, applying the techniques they had practiced countless times. Hours passed. The star's violent energy patterns gradually calmed. Finally, after one tense moment when everything seemed to hang in balance, the core stabilized completely. It worked, Thompson whispered. Then louder, it worked. The star is returning to its normal life cycle. The bridge erupted in cheers. Human and alien voices mixed together in celebration. Miller looked at Admiral Rex, seeing his own relief mirrored in the alien's expression. 1 down, Miller said quietly. 2 more to go. Rex nodded. And this time, "You're not doing it alone." He gestured to the celebrating crew around them. "This is how it should be. Different species working together to preserve life." Through the ship's windows, they could see the star glowing steadily now, its future restored. On the planets below, a civilization that had nearly been doomed by humanity's mistake would now survive. It wasn't just redemption, Miller realized. It was something more. The beginning of a new kind of cooperation between species. 1 year later, the Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat was filled with representatives from 5 different species. Humans stood alongside their former adversaries, watching as the final data streams came in from the third and last affected star system. Dr. Thompson had barely slept in days, but her eyes were bright as she read the numbers. "The final star has been fully stabilized," she announced, her voice carrying across the quiet hall. "All 3 systems are now safe." Around her, both humans and aliens broke into applause. Some were crying, others laughing with relief. Miller stood next to Admiral Rex, both of them watching the celebration. 21 years, Miller said quietly. "From our greatest mistake to our greatest achievement." The main display showed all 3 star systems, their cores now pulsing with healthy, normal energy patterns. Below them, the young civilizations continued to grow and develop, unaware of how close they had come to extinction. They would have time now, billions of years of it. "Your people surprised us," Rex said, turning to Miller. "We came expecting to find monsters. Instead, we found something rare in the galaxy, a species willing to spend decades fixing their mistakes." The hall's attention turned to a new presentation. Images showed the combined fleet of human and alien ships working together, using their merged technologies to heal dying stars. The containment fields that had once been used in battle now served their true purpose, preserving life. "We've learned so much from each other," Thompson added, joining them. "Our containment technology combined with your faster-than-light drives. Your energy systems working with our stabilization fields. We've advanced both our sciences by centuries." The younger alien officers who had once attacked Earth now trained alongside human pilots, learning the delicate art of stellar energy control. The techniques that had saved 3 stars were being taught to a new generation of both species. "The archive has been renamed," Rex announced to the hall. "It's now the Galactic Library of Stellar Sciences. Every species will have access to this knowledge, ensuring such accidents never happen again." He paused, looking at the humans. "And ensuring we never judge too quickly again." A group of alien scientists approached Thompson, carrying something covered in ceremonial cloth. They unveiled it, a small crystal containing all the data from their joint mission. "This will be displayed in the library's main hall," one said, "a reminder that great mistakes can lead to greater cooperation." Miller thought about how different things could have been. If humanity had hidden from their mistake, if they had tried to fight instead of fix, if they had let shame prevent them from finding a solution. The hall around him, filled with different species working together, might never have existed. "There's something else," Rex said, addressing the crowd. "The 3 systems we saved. Their stars are now more stable than they were originally. The techniques we developed didn't just fix the problem. They improved the stars' natural life cycles." Thompson nodded. "The containment fields actually strengthen the stellar cores. Those civilizations will have even more time to develop, to reach for the stars themselves." She smiled. "When they do, they'll find friends waiting for them." The gathering shifted to a celebration. Humans and aliens mingled, sharing stories of their year working together. The younger alien officers who had once been so eager to attack now sat with human pilots, learning from each other. Scientists from both species excitedly discussed new applications for their combined technologies. "We're receiving a transmission," an aide announced, "from Earth's deep space programs." The hall fell quiet as the message played. New solar systems had been discovered, ones that could support life. But this time, humanity wouldn't go alone. This time, they had partners to help them explore safely. Miller looked around the hall one last time. At Thompson, whose dedication had helped save 3 civilizations, at Rex, who had been willing to look past his assumptions and see the truth, at the humans and aliens working together, planning future missions. You know, he said to no one in particular, some might say we got lucky, that finding you, even though it started with a confrontation, was the best thing that could have happened. Rex shook his head. Not luck, he corrected. This is what happens when different species choose to solve problems together instead of fighting. This is the future we all hoped existed in the stars. Around them, the celebration continued, not just of 3 stars saved, but of a new chapter in galactic history, one written together in the language of cooperation and hope.